This episode is proudly supported by Pepe Sayer Australian Cultured Butter.
The Pepe Sayer all new Australian butter sheets. Everything we've learned over the last 12 years, we've put into making this new butter sheet. Combined with a brand spanking new shiny machine from Switzerland, we're able now to produce this beautiful butter sheet that's so easy to laminate with. So it's pliable, it's very fresh. If you're an Australian baker buying our butter sheets, they're made weekly. The formulation, it's a beautiful unsalted butter that will work for savoury and sweet. I think it's a perfect balance there. The bakers and pastry chefs that are using it are just raving about it.
For more information, go to pepesayer.com.au.
Yeah, under no illusions that this is going to be a lot of work and it's going to be hard. But we're really, really keen that this is not just kind of a flash in the pan concept for some exposure. Like, this is what we want to achieve, and we've got a 5-year plan.
Hey everyone, it is Dani Valent here with you for an episode of Dirty Linen. I am feeling excellent at the mic today and sure that this is going to be a great chat. Now, I've got to give you a warning out there in Hospo land. We are not going to turn Dirty Linen into a job board. No, this is not a recruitment service. Well, except perhaps for today. Our guest today is Cameron Earl. He is currently working at Carlton Wine Room, bit of a Hospo veteran, and working on a very exciting new project called Residence, alongside an alumni of Dirty Linen, Nathen Doyle. We love chatting to Nathen about Sunhands a couple of years ago. Cam, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here.
Well, I am equally excited. Now, where should we start? I think let's just give us a little bit of an intro about yourself. Put yourself in context for us.
Yeah, sure. Kiwi born, moved here about 18 years ago. Moved here to actually work as a paramedic, but started working in hospitality and saw a side of hospitality I hadn't seen back home in New Zealand, and completely fell in love with the industry here in Melbourne. It was actually supposed to be a pretty short sabbatical and then move over to Japan for a little ski season, and never made it to Japan. Turned this into home base, and this has been home for the last 18 years, and worked in all facets of the industry in Melbourne. Yeah, my love of food and beverage has kind of driven me towards being a part of this industry for as long as I have been. So up until recently, been a part of the Embla team for a short stint, which is where I met my wonderful partner, and ran my own businesses for a good 8 years. I started an almond milk brand called Almond Milk Co. Melbourne a few years back. So ran that successfully, and then we had that beautiful little COVID stint and took some time away from being a business owner, and then recently joined the Carlton Wine Room team with some really good friends and mentors, and Andrew Joy and Travis Howe. And the location has given me the opportunity to meet my now business partner, Nathen Doyle from Heart Attack and Vine and Sunhands. So quite serendipitously, we crossed paths. I literally walk past his business every morning, and it almost always turns into a quick chat. And he just wanted to pick my brain about an opportunity he had on his plate, which is now Residence. So that conversation started about 6 months ago. For him, it's been about a 2-year journey working with Melbourne University and Ian Potter Gallery in a full refurb and introduction of the food and bev offering to that space. And he was looking for somebody that had an extensive food and beverage background outside of his own to kind of come up with a concept and drive a narrative for the space. There's so many facets to this building for us. We've got the restaurant space, an espresso bar space, and an additional 3 event spaces. So we needed it to be able to accommodate and kind of fill in all of those voids. And for me, I've always had this kind of dream. There were a couple of restaurateurs in New York that had a concept where they had chefs from overseas come and do a summer residence in one of their locations. And I always found that so incredibly fascinating that they were able to achieve that goal. And had the pull to be able to get people from, abroad, name chefs from abroad to come and cook, and how incredible that would be for a restaurant team to learn from someone with a totally different expertise to say what the demographic of the restaurant was. So, Yeah, I thought it's always such a cool idea. And this is a long, long time ago. And then Nathan and I were talking about our own personal ideals within the industry. We've both been in it for quite a long time. We both kind of agreed that once you get to a certain level, there's a bit of a ceiling, and you turn into more of a teacher and an educator than you do being an employee of a business. Over time, you just absorb a lot of knowledge, and by proxy, you kind of pass that knowledge on. And that became a really enjoyable part of the industry for me. It's something that I always love. It's kind of nurturing new talent and nurturing people in our industry, and watching where they end up has always been a huge benefit of being a part of the hospitality industry for me. And so we talked about how we could incorporate that into this new opportunity that we have. It's not a huge restaurant either, so it's a smaller space, it's an intimate space. And we talked about all the other offerings we had available to us and what opportunity that would give us in a restaurant capacity. And I put forward the idea of a chef in residence and being attached to a gallery, an artistic space, being attached to a university. That idea of it being kind of an artist in residence or a chef in residence really kind of worked for both of us. And it spiraled from there, which I'm really excited to say that we settled on that concept. Yes. That's kind of where we've got to where we are today.
Well, you don't need a podcast host, Cam. You can just do a TED Talk. That was an amazing potted history. I love it. Now, there's so many places where we could pick up the tale. But I first like hospitality and paramedicine. I feel like hospitality is its own kind of life support. Have you ever been called upon to use your emergency medical skills in a hospitality setting?
Too many times, I think. Too many times, yeah. I mean, it's if it's someone awkwardly stabbing their hand with a wine glass, or if it's a guest, someone taking medication they shouldn't have taken before a long lunch and trying to get up quickly and fainting on the floor, it's too many times to count, to be honest. And it's funny when you talk about the comparisons between paramedicine and hospitality. They're all kind of customer facing. You need to be able to create a bond and a connection with people relatively quickly for them to be able to trust you to, pick the right bottle of wine or put in an intravenous cannula. Maybe slightly different realms of, stress, but still kind of the same thing. They all end up being about relationship and building a bond with somebody. So yeah, there's a parallel there.
Well, Cam, I certainly know which professional expertise I would rather engage with you on, and it is something to do with a cannula. So.
Yeah, let's hope that never happens.
Yeah. So, look, a residence sounds amazing. So, for people who don't know the area, it's in Parkville, Melbourne Uni. The Potter Museum of Art is, a really dynamic gallery, always worth a visit. And it's just near, as you say, like you're near Carlton Wine Room, near Sunhands and Heart Attack and Vine. It's a real foodie area of Melbourne, but I think people haven't necessarily thought of the actual university precinct as a place to go for great food. So bringing something different there. But this idea of a chef in residence is so interesting, and as you say, really is aligned with the idea of a changing art exhibition, but also sounds really challenging. Tell us about the application process and, I don't know, like what you're going to be looking for.
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, everyone we told this concept to that's close to us, near and dear to us, told us we were crazy because it's hard enough to open a restaurant in the best of times, let alone adding in the additional layer of having to change your head chef every year and changing your cuisine every year. So we're well aware of the nuances that come with this decision, but we're kind of, as Nathan says, we're keen to kind of swing for the fences and see how far we can take this amazing concept. The application process, Nathan was approached, which I think is a real testament to who he is in the hospitality industry and also just a personality in Carlton. So many people kind of, he touches on a daily or weekly basis or on the other way around. He's always around. He's always in his venues. He's, as you are well aware, he's completely charismatic and very hospitable. So he was approached by the university and the Ian Potter initiative that were putting forward this tender, and up against some big names, he won the tender, which I'm really excited by. I'm really stoked that he was able to do that. What was the next question after that? Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, there's so much to it. So it's just, I suppose, what you're looking for. Like, you're curating this enormous challenge for yourselves and an exciting challenge for whoever the first and second and third incumbents are. But, what are you looking for? Because, I mean, we can actually look at the app. I've got the application form here. It's pretty cool. Like, so you're applying for the head chef at residence, and you've got 3 stages. So there's a shortlist, and then you come up with the second stage, which is menu creation, costing, and an interview, and then a final interview and contract offer. So first up, people have to answer questions like their basic details, including, of course, because it's 2025, Instagram handle. Interesting. Like, where's no TikTok? I see. Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I don't know if I'm cool enough for TikTok. Maybe we should add that in. I think, I need to get with the times on that.
Well, maybe it's self-selecting. I don't know. And so then it's like, who are you? Where have you worked? What influences do you have? What's the name of your proposed restaurant? Actually, I was thinking with that, like, where is like someone's handing over their concept. Is there some kind of undertaking from you that you're not going to just go and use it? What food would you serve and why? And provide an example of dishes with descriptions, and then, upload your cover letter and CV. Like, it's a process,
I think this process is there to really figure out the applicant's strengths and weaknesses, because we're under no illusion that there is going to be like an educational mentoring process in this full year. So these questions are really designed to find out that if you're a creative, but your background in menu costing isn't as strong as, say, another applicant. So then throughout the year, we can create a structure and an educational plan for you. So it's outside of just operating the business, that you leave with those skills that you didn't have coming in. And that's a really important part of this process. With regards to concept, I mean, for me, the absolute end dream would be that this person comes through the restaurant, they get some exposure through their cooking and through their name. And the way I see residents is it's effectively a 1-year pop-up. We are just a vessel for these people to showcase their wares. And at the end, their business is successful and they get a bonus for that success. They can go and do whatever they like. And the dream for me would be that they open their own restaurant because of the success of this opportunity. Would we love to do that with them if it's successful? Absolutely. That'd be incredible. But it's totally up to the individual. Maybe they want to take a couple of years off and go travel and eat around the world. Maybe they want to write a cookbook. Maybe they want to start a podcast. And hopefully through this process and through this educational process where they're being mentored by industry professionals, they get to witness that. They get to kind of refine what they want from this opportunity. They might find that running a kitchen and being a head chef and owning their own business is so not what they want to do. And that's just as fine, as long as there is some sort of resolution or solidification for them throughout the process. And they're like, wow, this is exactly what I wanted, or this is nothing like I thought it was going to be. And we're totally aware that that is going to be a part of the process. We're also really excited to show whoever applies and whoever gets this role that part of being a chef now is not just about cooking. And we will have a huge amount of support around social media and film, interviewing, all of the facets of what it takes to be kind of a head chef in a restaurant in modern Melbourne and modern Australia. For me, the dream applicant, though, is somebody that hasn't had this opportunity yet but wants it. Maybe they're working in a really busy kitchen. They're a senior sous chef. They are cooking somebody else's food. And while they're cooking somebody else's food, all they can dream about is taking elements from what they're cooking and making it their own, or adding it to a dish they've already got in their mind, or they've got their own little journal and they go away and they kind of go, cool, we did a kingfish crudo today and we did it with, fermented kumquat or something like that. And they've got a dish in their mind that they can then use that element in somewhere else. That person that is like passionate about what they do and passionate about food, and then they want to showcase something that is inherently theirs, whether it's their heritage or whether it's the style of cooking that they love. And we just are giving them an opportunity to showcase that and doing it in a way that is supported in the hope that they will be successful, because we need them to be successful so that we can be successful. It is a mutual relationship where we both need to succeed. So for me, it's not so much about taking someone's concept and using it. We're providing a space for them to bring their concept to life. So it requires a huge amount of work from both parties for this to be successful.
I would say for any chef who's thinking about applying, even going through this process would be a valuable way to refine your ideas, to sort of take stock of where you're at, how far along the path you are. And I suppose what I'm hearing from you, Cam, is that it's not that you want people to present something finished and fully realised, that it would actually perhaps even be to their benefit to say, you know, this is what I'm going to need more help with, this is what I don't know yet, that you're not expecting someone to come along and have all the answers.
Yeah, and I think in any restaurant, the R&D of a dish is where possible, and in some of the best circumstances that I've worked, is a front and back of house conversation about how a plate works visually, how it works for service, how it works flavor-wise, how it works with a wine pairing. So you may come in with a concept and idea, but those will all evolve, and it's, you know, the strictures of the space, you know, the volume of stock you can store on site. All of these other little nuances play into what you can actually create and what you can put on a plate. And so, yeah, it doesn't need to be a finished product. It doesn't need to be like, I want to open this restaurant. It's been my dream restaurant for my entire life. It's going to be an evolving conversation throughout anyway to be able to achieve what we can achieve in the space. But I think at the very core of it, it's someone with passion for what they do, and someone that's excited by this idea, really excited by the opportunity and can see the benefits. That's at the very core of what we're looking for, who we're looking for.
I mean, are there elements to the industry as it is right now that make you especially keen to offer this opportunity? Like, do you think it would be harder for a chef these days to do it on their own, perhaps more harder than it was when Nathen started Heart Attack and Vine?
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky enough to see kind of this industry evolve and change for the last 18 to 20 years. And you can see the evolution kind of away, especially post-COVID. We can not hide from this fact that impacted like small owner-operator businesses quite heavily. But it definitely feels like there's a bit of a regeneration at the moment. And you can just see by the spaces that are opening up, like Zach's Tiny Bar, like things like that just didn't seem to exist even just a year ago. And we're seeing this kind of evolution back towards an owner-operator sort of establishment, which I think is really exciting. I feel like that's kind of what Melbourne was famous for when I first moved here, was the smaller owner-operated laneway venue. So, yeah, I think there's a huge amount of opportunity kind of on the horizon, but also we want to be part of nurturing that. I've always thought in our industry it's quite hard to find a transparency and growth as well. So you can be in a role in a business and be doing an incredible job, but you in that role and in that position benefits the business a huge amount. So growth becomes a little bit difficult. And so to offer opportunities like this to show maybe an opportunity they wouldn't normally see is really exciting to us.
Yeah, and we should mention it's a profit share arrangement, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, so they will receive a percentage of profits from the restaurant's takings at the end of the year.
So trying to work out how to craft this question. I suppose what I want to talk about is the balance between restaurants that are driven from front of house or back of house, in a way by looking for a chef and highlighting the chef in residence. You're sort of signalling that this is a cuisine or kitchen forward operation. But actually, it's you and Nathen that are the consistent element, which is, I suppose more the operations, the front of house, the overall look and feel of the restaurant. Where do you see that balance between front of house and back of house?
Well, the balance is going to come in the executive chef. That will be the overarching kind of mentor in the kitchen. That's going to be a huge role. We've been interviewing and have interviewed multiple applicants. No one that we've offered the job to just yet, but that's a huge part of the business, a huge role that we're currently sourcing at the moment, because that is, like you said, that's the balance. That is the balance between front of house and back of house. And if we want to mentor this person in the way we're proposing, then we need to have somebody with experience and that is looking to be a teacher in that role. So it's a massive role. It's a really important role for us, and not one we're taking lightly, hence why we've already been through so many applicants. But yeah, that is where the balance lies, is in that other half.
It's such an interesting role, isn't it? Because I guess you're there for your skills as a nurturer and as a mentor, but you also need to, both, you need to be pretty ego free to let the chef in residence really shine. And that, presumably that chef in residence will come with a skills and background or cuisine knowledge that are different from the executive chef. I mean, certainly over time, if that exec chef stays in the role, there would have to be a sort of humility as well as a seniority to that position.
Absolutely. I also think, though, that maybe I'm being a little presumptuous, but maybe that role it removes an element of stress. The control over the offering is more about refining what's being put forward and offering feedback and offering support and mentorship. It's less about menu creation and less of the stresses of a dish's final kind of food to table is on the shoulders of the exec chef. But this is obviously an evolving situation, so we'll have to see how that plays out. And you're absolutely right. You need somebody with absolute humility, and the majority of the role will be a teaching role. It'll be an educational role and an oversight role, rather than it being someone taking creative control of the kitchen. So that will be. Yeah, that'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. And again, if you're looking at taking on somebody that may not have experience in the cuisine that we're having from year in, year out, then it will be an educational part of their process too. I mean, we'll know early on the sort of food that we'll be looking to do in the second year. There will be a handover period and there'll be a buffer between the first chef in residence and the second one. And so there will be a window for all of us to educate ourselves on what that next year is going to look like. And maybe that involves some travel.
Yeah, so interesting. I mean, I guess we'd seen you mentioned, the overseas experiments that you'd seen with these chef in residence. I guess we've had Longclume come to Bathers Pavilion. We've watched Noma dart here and there. There's a restaurant in Melbourne called Atlas, Charlie Carrington, who's also been on the podcast a couple of times. I just noticed that Atlas, which has changed its cuisine every 3 months for 5 or 6 years now, has just eased that concept a little bit, which is so understandable. Like, it to be changing the menu every 3 months is massive. But I think I also think of Square One at the Rialto, so a Mulberry Group cafe that started with a quite innovative concept of guest chef dishes on the menu every couple of months, and they've sort of stepped away from that. I think, these concepts take a lot of energy. Are you scared?
Yeah. I'm not going to beat around the bush and try and put on a brave face. Yeah, definitely. But that kind of nervous energy I find very valuable. And I think that's probably bode well with me most of my life. Like that kind of that tingle in your stomach, I see as a good thing. It's a motivator, and it means you're doing something exciting and different. And that's okay. It's okay. And, Nathen and I are both incredibly positive people, and we are looking at this with a really great outlook. And I think that was part of the reason why we chose to go for a year as well, to give the chef 4 seasons to play with and showcase, and a whole year to improve and to grow and to learn. But yeah, under no illusions that this is going to be a lot of work and it's going to be hard. But we're really, really keen that this is not just kind of a flash in the pan concept for some exposure. Like this is what we want to achieve, and we've got a 5-year plan, and then if we make that work, another 5-year plan. So this is not a 1-year kind of excursion, and we are creating a calendar at the moment that will accurately show that, so we can start preparing for the next year now. And it's that sort of foresight and that sort of preparation that I think is really important, and that will determine the success of this opportunity. I don't think we'll have any shortage of applicants. I don't think we're going to have any shortage of interest. It's going to be execution from our end that determines whether this is successful or not. So it falls on our shoulders to do this the right way.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I mean, even the process of looking through the applications, I feel will give you a really amazing insight into talent that's out there, and like where the industry's poised, like what's going to happen next. I mean, if you want an outside voice looking through these applications, hit me up, because I think this will be such a fascinating process.
I mean, I would love for you to look through the applications. It would be a fascinating conversation to have. And also the idea that if you don't get the first year, if you're shortlisted, we will absolutely shortlist you for the next year. So this may not be an opportunity that you get the first time, but you will absolutely be shortlisted for the second year. And maybe we say to you, your application was amazing. We love what you're putting forward. We love your food. You've got a year to work on this, and come back and see us, and we'll contact you at the end of the year and see if you're still interested. It's not just a one and done, like if you put your name forward, your name is going to be kept with us, and we will be interested in you going forward. And it may not be that you get the role as the chef in residence. Maybe you get a role as the sous chef, and you get to be a part of the kitchen and work with this first applicant, and then you take the reins for the second, and you've had experience in the kitchen. You know what you're getting yourself into. There are so many opportunities that come with this concept and this idea.
I love it. We'll put the link in the show notes, but it's residence@thepotter.com.au. Cam, let's just finish with a random question. What do you think of almond milk?
I had a love-hate relationship with it for about 8 years, but I think what we were creating when I was doing it was the best in the industry, and I think some of what you get now is a shadow of what almond milk can be and what it tastes like. If you've ever had it made fresh, it's some of the best stuff going around. But that shelf-stable, oil-filled 2% stuff, I wouldn't even class as almond milk, if I'm really honest.
Yeah. Has oat replaced almond? I mean, I'm speaking as a dairy girl.
Yeah, but I think so. But I think that will continue to change. I think if you're going to put it in context, oat milk is probably the most user-friendly in the format in which it's affordable. And that's a really important part of business. We were making a product that had 16% almonds, dates, salt, and filtered water, and it was made fresh to order. And that is a very expensive end product, and unrealistic, I think, for a cafe to be able to afford and pass on to a customer, especially now where we're talking about coffees costing $7. So it needs to be affordable and user-friendly and not disgusting. And so there's a middle ground there, and I think oat milk finds that balance better than almond milk does.
Yeah, not disgusting should at least be the baseline.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. You do a blind taste of some of that stuff, and I think disgusting is an accurate description.
Okay, one last question, because it's too long since I've been to Carlton Wine Room. And actually, anyone who wants to dive into the archives, go back and find our week at Carlton Wine Room. Dirty Linen hung out there for a week, chatted to people working in all different aspects of the business. We really should do a return visit, because no doubt so much has changed, but it is also a business that people love for its consistency. What should I have when I come in?
Oh, at the moment, we're in this lucky position where we have our Abrolhos Island scallop tostada on. We get that for a couple of months of the year. It's done with a spring onion yuzu kosho and aioli. And this was the first thing I ate out of lockdown. It was that first bite in a restaurant. And that dish to me is like locked in my heart. It made me cry when I ate it. It's so delicious. It's like, it is food personified for me. I absolutely adore that dish. And it's just a perfect little bite. Like that to me is walking the dog down the street, sit outside, glass of wine, scallop tostada, anchovy toast, and life just kind of seems to slow down. It's all okay. But if it was you for a full meal, we've got a beautiful little cold cut chicken, which is like a poached chicken served with herb remoulade and crispy chicken skin, roasted hazelnuts. I love that. It's like quintessentially French, works perfectly with a little glass of white wine. And we've just kind of modified the mains a wee bit. So there's an offering for some slightly more exuberant food if you're looking to sit down with 3 or 4 people, which is really cool.
Oh, I am looking forward to sitting down with 3 or 4 people for 3 or 4 hours. It all sounds so good. Cam, good luck with all of this. Please stay in touch. I want to know everything along the way, and I cannot wait. But yeah, thanks for sharing. Really exciting development, and looking forward to seeing what you surface.
I know. I can't wait to. Thank you so much.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This is a Deep in the Weeds production.